So, welcome to part six of me going through my essay titled America, Maybe It's Time to Renew Our Vows. I'm going to just get straight in. This is the finale of the essay, probably not the finale of the series. Um, I got a lot of commentary. I'm running out of time. And I just realized your boy did not shave. It's Easter morning that I'm recording this. And uh, I'm better than the stereotype of Christians that only show up on Easter and Christmas. Uh, my mama had us in church like 2 to 3 times a week growing up, but I got to shave for Easter, right? What am I doing? Anyway, how the founders created a foundation for us to build upon. This is the last part of my essay series. The Constitution created three co equal branches of government. In a very loose summary, the legislative branch writes laws and grants authority to the executive branch to execute those laws. It also controls the purse, that money, and determine how much of our money is to be allocated to specific programs and or departments. The executive branch has the duty to enforce those laws. The judicial branch determines if those laws or their execution are constitutional. This appears to not be common knowledge, and this is why Trump has said repeatedly that he loves stupid people. If you know this is how the three branches are supposed to work, you know and understand the big picture of how Donald Trump's actions threaten our democracy. Anyway, what I just said was not part of this essay. Highly recommend reading it straight through without my commentary if you don't want those extra things. Anyway, Black Americans don't take pride in being stupid. We take pride in overcoming obstacles that seem impossible and taking the worst possible situations and turning them into works of art or good food, things to share and enjoy with others. As a black man growing up all over the South and eventually moving to Chicago and later Indianapolis, I felt pride in all that I saw around the country. In Louisiana, I saw true poverty and how people banded together to make sure needs were met, a place where neighbors would check on neighbors. In North Carolina, I frequently saw Republicans and Democrats put their beliefs aside to help elect the first black president in American history, while also electing the first female governor in state history. Although Chicago felt like the most segregated I've ever lived in, the South Loop, which I called home for 5 years, showed me what could happen in a multi ethnic community. Communities that held pride in being black, German, Mexican, Uzbekistani, Indian, Irish, Polish, or all of those combined. So, how could a country as big and diverse as this believe that one branch, one person, should decide what justice means for all of us? We vote for a president once every 4 years and use an outdated but effective system called the Electoral College to decide which person bears responsibility to be commander in chief. Congress was designed to be a series of dams to control our passions. Elections in the House every 2 years allow the American people to get fresh representation based on the trends and values in popular life. An example would be 2018, when Congress elected the most women and people of color in history to the point to that point, following the awakening of the Me Too movement and as a precursor to the Black Lives Matter movement. The Senate runs on a cycle where 1/3 of its members come up for vote every 2 years to ensure that over a 6 year period, those trends may come and go, but the consistent will of the people is represented. The best example of this would be the post civil rights era, where desegregation was once seen as an impossible position to have. Over time, the Senate came to reflect the country's belief that segregation is an immoral and unjust system. The longest running representatives that we have in our federal government are in the Supreme Court. Justices who serve for their lifetime are chosen not by us directly, but by our president, and they're confirmed by our senators. The founders did not intend to have a country that moved swiftly and at the whim of one person. Guys, I'm alluding to the fact that our Revolutionary War was against the king. I don't know if you put that together, but our founders were very adamant about not consolidating power into one person. I don't know why people who, anyway. Many early Americans fought and died fighting the King of England to ensure that they would not be subjected to an overbearing executive who could uproot and impact their lives without consequences. That being the case, here is my reason for writing. As an American, you and I have the duty and responsibility to fix this country. There is no limit to how we do that. There is no right or wrong. As a father raising two boys under the age of 4, I'm not limited in what actions I can take that don't As a father raising two boys under the age of 4, I'm limited in what actions I can take that don't put my family at risk. I'm prepared to risk my life for their survival, but I pray we don't get to that point. I know I was reading that weird. Uh, I think what's tough, tangent in the middle of writing, this isn't in the essay. This society wants you to. I'm about to go on a bit of an anti-capitalist rant. Uh, Kaylee, don't clip this. You know, my co-host for Sorry I'm a Bitch is gonna love. I'm going on this tangent. This society wants you to have more things so that you shut up. You don't feel empowered to talk because look at all these things that I can take. I think that is the base level of when you're breaking into the middle and upper class of look at all these properties you own, look at all these businesses you own. Don't say anything because you risk losing it. The people who are ultra wealthy, publicly or privately, are all extremely political. They say with either their money or their actual words what they believe and how this country should be changed. And they don't care about how we, the people, perceive them because we, the people, will continue to buy stuff. Why doesn't Elon Musk ask, feel scared that he's going to lose the properties, the power, the status to advocate for his absolutely horrible beliefs? Why do a mom and dad who have to pay a mortgage feel like they can't publicly speak about issues impacting their country because their HR department might fire them because they hurt a coworker's feelings? Like, the system wants you to have a house, and like I think you should have a house. So let me get back to my capitalist. You should have things that establish you in a community that make you a part of a culture and society. I like people owning businesses. That's a way to send money to people who, you know, ultimately can provide a good product for your customers, whatever your product is. But you should have businesses that put food, put money in people's pockets so they can buy and put their money in the things that they want to do. So, if somebody's passion is cooking, we have a society where people can pay that person to cook. If somebody's passion is painting, we have a society where people have money to pay for someone to paint. We need a system that allows money to flow for people to follow their individual passions. If we get to a system that doesn't allow the free flow of money, people will not be able to express themselves, whether it's a hobby outside of their job. There won't be a financial benefit that benefits them to practice the thing that they love, unless the thing that they love suits the state or the oligarchy, whatever. Anyway, crazy tangent. I'm a capitalist. Kaylee, don't don't come at me with socialist stuff. Anyway, she's a democratic socialist, so I think there's a caveat to being socialist. My call to action to you, Mr. and Mrs. America, for the future, you need to make sure the candidates you support are calling to limit the power and authority of the executive branch, regardless of which side is in office. That's it. Donald Trump is a vessel, and the people who use him, like Stephen Miller, are powerless if they have to speak and convince the American people that their oppressive beliefs, I lost where I am, are in the best interest of the country. People like Elon Musk and the CEOs of major American companies use Trump to attain more wealth. People like Scott Bessent and Peter Thiel use Trump and Vance for power and control to benefit themselves. Trump is not blameless or without guilt. His bank account is the only evidence we need to see why he is in office. A weakened executive that faces a Congress with a spine cannot do the things that Trump is doing. Not going to go off on that tangent. It should take the will of the people for Americans to have troops deployed into American cities and countries. It should take an act of Congress before the U.S. threatens to invade an allied nation's territory. We were talking about Greenland at the time I wrote this. We must act. We must protest peacefully right now. We must alienate and isolate companies and politicians who side with tyranny to gain more power and money. I say that as a person who's purchased meta glasses. Ugh. It's okay if you can't do those things. Raise children to question authority. If you're an eligible voter, you have the best ability to create change, and that's voting. Guys, This whole system, as much as we want to joke about blah 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 and the doomsdayers, whatever, actually vote. You have an impact. All topics for other days. Guys, I'm sorry. You're gonna hear a lot of oohing and ahhing as I'm trying to figure out how to say stuff, but I don't have an infinite amount of time. Um, I'm not telling you to vote Republican or Democrat. I'm not asking you to create a third party or vote Libertarian. I'm not asking you to spend your money on any politician's campaign. I'm not telling you to risk your freedom. I'm not endorsing the We the People Party. I'm asking you to participate in our elections. I'm asking you to vote. I'm asking you to guarantee for our children that they will not grow up in a country where one man, one person, let's be real, it is men that do this kind of stuff. There are women are extremely capable of doing this stuff, but I think women have the ability to think beyond themselves and to see the greater impact. I'm gonna cut that maybe potentially. I don't know. I like that I said it, but I don't like that I said it in the middle of this. Anyway, I'm asking you to guarantee for our children that they will not grow up in a country where one man can decide that his will and morality are his only restraints. Please, for our future in the next election and future elections, vote for representatives who will limit the power of the executive branch. Make sure the power is in the hands of the people and not Donald Trump or the next authoritarian. Renew our vows, as outlined in our preamble. The power comes from us. Here's the preamble again. We, the people of the United States, in order to form a more perfect union, establish justice, ensure domestic tranquility, provide for the common defense, promote the general welfare, and secure the blessings of liberty to ourselves and our posterity, do ordain and establish this Constitution for the United States of America. We, the people, not Donald Trump, not the office of president, not the executive branch, the power of this country belongs to us. With that, I am closing out the reading of my big political essay, America, Maybe It's Time to Renew Our Vows. And I'm going to follow up with one final for the series and kind of talk about the big picture, what happens next. But appreciate you joining this, I don't know, TED Talk? Ugh.